Hello and welcome to my research presentation. I'd like to apologize if my mic sounds a little bit iffy. I'm using a pair of plug-in headphones in my computer. So the topic that I will be covering in this presentation and in my paper is about sex laws and homosexuality in ancient Rome. More specifically, whether or not the Roman legal system had laws in place that protected its citizens against sex crimes such as rape or sexual assault, and whether or not homosexuality was really at all tolerated in Rome, if it was okay or not. So let's get into this. So to get an understanding if the Romans really accepted and tolerated homosexuality is to look at the way the Greeks viewed homosexuality. Um, it's not a secret that the Greeks influenced the Romans in many aspects of their culture and society. So I thought this would be a good place to begin the quest for knowledge. So it has been pretty much unanimously agreed upon in the scholarly community that the Dorian uh, society is the first culture to really practice pederasty. And pederasty translates to basically boy love. The Dorians were basically the last tribe to migrate to Greece, and what the Dorians would do is that they would have adult males kidnap adolescent males as part of a rite of passage, transitioning from a basically an adolescent to a young man. And basically, how this translates into Greek society is that there would be a man called the Orestes who would basically educate and love an Eromenos, which would be a young adolescent male. It is important to note that these relationships were not strictly sexual, as the Orestes would play a vital role in the adolescent male's life and educate and mentor him, and the the Eromenos, pardon me, would basically provide sexual favors for him. Um, the Greek society was not the only society to practice pederasty. The Greek city-state of Sparta also implemented pederasty into their society. It is important to note that among the Greeks, only the aristocrats and high-ranking members of society basically tolerated and permitted pederasty, and it wasn't really reserved for the lower-ranking members of society. So what happened in Sparta was a older adult Spartan male warrior would take an adolescent male under his wing and mentor him, like the same way that the Greeks did. And in return for being mentored and educated, the adolescent Spartan male would provide sexual satisfaction to his mentor. So, with that little bit of background knowledge, this will take us to ancient Rome and bring us to the question of: did Romans have laws protecting its citizens against sex crimes? The short answer is yes. So, for sex laws in Rome, the Lex Scantania is the first law of its kind that penalized sex crimes. It has been debated or not whether there were laws implemented before the Lex Scantania, but all evidence of this has been lost to the ages of time, and the Lex Scantania is the first law that has been recorded to have penalized sex crimes, also known as stuprum. Um, so it is important to know that when it comes to sex crimes in Rome, that the English word rape comes from the word raptus or rapio, which translates to basically to snatch, carry away, or abduct. And in Rome originally, rapio was originally just used for cases of kidnapping or abduction. But when laws were codified into Roman society in the late Republic, raptus ad stuprum became a crime, which basically translates to abduction for the purpose of committing a sex crime. Um, One of the most heinous crimes you could commit in Roman society was rape. Rape is one of the few crimes in Rome that carried the death penalty, as it was a capital offense. In the courtroom, any citizen with any legal expertise could bring a case against anyone and prosecute it themselves. However, rape cases could only be brought against citizens in good standing, and this basically means that women who either worked as a prostitute or entertainer could not bring rape cases um, up themselves. This would be because anyone who worked as either a prostitute or entertainer, such like a dancer or actor, carried the title of infamous, which was a legal status that basically disabled legal protection in cases of sex crimes. I mean, this is because if you would infamy, you basically were selling yourself out to the public and allowed your body to be pleasured by the public. And basically, if you had one of these jobs, Roman society thought you shouldn't be able to have protection in cases of sex crimes. So this will get us to homosexuality in Rome. Short question is: was homosexuality tolerated in Rome? Yes, it is, but it's very complex. So in Rome, homosexuality was tolerated a lot as long as you took the dominant role in sex, meaning you were the one doing the penetrating. Generally speaking, homosexuality was tolerated. You could have sex with your slaves, have sex with prostitutes, as long as you were the one in the dominant role. It was generally frowned upon if you partook in the passive role of sex as the one that was penetrated, if you wanted to engage in these behaviors. So, homosexuality was allowed in Rome up until the point of basically the fall of the Republic and the rise of the Roman Empire, where there were basically Augustus started passing stricter sex laws and basically started prohibiting homosexuality as he wanted to return Rome to the traditional social norms that he believed Rome held. So what Emperor Augustus did basically is he passed the Lex Julia de Adulteris Coincidus, shortly the Lex Julia, which basically prohibited adultery. And furthermore, during the later stages of the empire, the Theodosian Code was passed by the Christian Roman emperors, which basically denounced homosexuality and making it a crime. Um, Basically, by the end of the 4th century, you would be burned if you were found to have partaken in homosexual acts, or another punishment was called death by sword, which was basically given to any man who would quote unquote couple like a woman. So the Theodosian Code were again stated was a set of laws that was passed by the empire by the late Christian emperors. These laws, though there were a few laws that basically regulated same-sex acts, the Theodosian Code is the main source, which basically regulated same-sex acts during the later days of the empire. So the Theodosian Code basically starts with two emperors, Constantius and Constans, passing basically a constitution which dealt with the matter of same-sex marriage, specifically to the rhyme of when a man is married in the matter of a woman. However, scholars have disputed what basically the word in Latin nubere means, which means basically does not mean a man to marry another man, whether that the man would be partaking again in the passive role in sex. Traditionally, the word nubere in Latin was most often used with women, as it typically referred to the custom of women veiling themselves for marriage, and again, relating this to homosexuality. It was basically they were making it illegal for a man to engage in sexual acts with another man. And finally, after the Theodosian Code was passed, going forward a few more centuries, sorry, it continues, doesn't end with Justinian, and Justinian was a Roman emperor who also passed laws that were basically denouncing homosexuality. And what Justinian did is he called for the enforcement of punishments for those who partook in same-sex acts. And anyone who basically would partake in these same-sex acts would be prosecuted in the courtroom, be found guilty, and burned. And these are my sources. Thank you for listening.